I feel like the reason Salena Zito got this story and was with the president that day and spoke to him for over an hour within 24 hours of it happening is because Salena Zito has made a lifetime out of reporting on events and places and people that few others will. The mainstream doesn't. You were in Butler because you knew Butler mattered. You were in Pennsylvania because you knew the back areas of Pennsylvania would determine the next president of the United States in a way. Yes, the mainstream media knew Pennsylvania was important, but you knew the state, you knew the towns, you knew the flavor, you knew the feeling. Your family's from there. But that's been your MO your entire reporting career. And I just think like there was, in the same way there was divine intervention to save Trump that day, there was something divine about you being steps away and having that front row seat to history, Salena. You're the perfect person to write this book. Congrats on the pub. And you tell me, when you think back on it almost a year later, how do you see it? How do you feel it mattered?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I feel very honored and to be able to tell this story in a way that I think is very authentic to the people and honors the people of Pennsylvania who were part, they're part of this story, not only that day, but in the days leading up to it and the days after. And, when you're a reporter, you don't always expect what you're supposed to do that day to be exactly what happens. I wasn't supposed to be standing in the buffer 4 feet away from the president. I wasn't supposed to see the president before he went out there. But through a series of we're going to do this, Salena, we're not going to do that, people will really enjoy having a front row seat to that back and forth about how I ended up there. But, I was there for a reason, and I think I was there because I'm supposed to tell this story in a way that is meaningful and nuanced and understands not only Trump, but more importantly, a constituency of people that are very rarely seen who placed him into office. As a reporter, I often feel like I straddle two completely different worlds. If I go on social media and I watch or read other journalists and how they were talking about the race that last year, and then I'm on the ground in Pennsylvania and watching something completely different, I think that's part of why I was there and why I ended up being so close.
I'll just start later in the book, just for this first question, you point out that as you rode into Butler, as you were looking around Butler, Pennsylvania, you actually tried to call attention to what people were seeing, what's happening in the town, with the other reporters, the so-called mainstream reporters, who refused to look up from their phones. They had zero interest in understanding Butler, Trump supporters, the rally crowd. Really, those people, when I read that piece of the book, I'm like, they were too busy writing Orange Man, bad, Trump, Hitler, fascist, right? That's the only narrative they understand, the same as they're doing today with respect to what's happening down in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that point you're talking about, it was in Erie, Pennsylvania. I have long argued that Erie, Pennsylvania is the most important county, not just in Pennsylvania, but also in the entire country. As Erie goes, so goes the country in a presidential election. It has been that way for a couple hundred years, right? And we're in Erie. J.D. Vance had been there that day. It was his first visit to Pennsylvania after being named the nominee by President Trump. And he's at this event in this sort of old industrial area. And he gets this massive crowd, right? And there are people lining the streets to see his motorcade. And I'm thinking, this matters. This is huge. This traditionally was a Democrat county. If they're coming to see this guy who they've been calling, something about cat ladies, and I don't know, there was all kind of weird. He's weird, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm pointing out to these journalists because I'm, as a blue collar kid from Western PA, Lake Erie was our beach. Okay. That's where we went on vacation. So
Yep.
I know Erie really well. I'm pointing out the old GE plant and all these industrial institutions that are gone and trying to show them like that matters, like place matters in this election. And I'm like, they're not paying attention to me at all. And it's not about me. I was trying to like be instructive and they didn't care. They all had their heads down in their phones, and I was so frustrated
They probably
because
were writing another childless cat lady article right at that moment.
oh
Like
yeah,
that's,
weird.
it couldn't be
He had
interrupted.
yes, it was about. So he said something that day. Oh, I know what J.D. Vance said that day. That was the day that he said that Harris. He was really angry about Harris saying that she would do nothing different than Joe Biden did when it came to Afghanistan. Right. And JD said something about that in strong words. And that's all they wrote about and how terrible he was for framing it that way. And I'm like, y'all are missing this race that's going on right in front of you. There are people that are holding up signs that saying, I'm weird too. Nobody else wrote that. And I'm thinking, you're not getting what's happening.
So Trump, a week prior to that, goes to Butler, Pennsylvania. You're there too. And you write about how there it was a joyful crowd, like we always saw at the Trump rallies. Not at all what the media would portray, but like truly joyful, celebratory. They did not know that Trump was going to win. We did not know that. We were told by everybody, including me. It looked like a very tight race. All the polls suggested tight. But still, they were joyful just to be around him. His messaging, they felt seen, they felt heard, and then Trump gives the speech, and we've heard this before, but I want you to tell it about how the turning of the head and like how unusual it was for him to do that.
Yeah. So he goes out. If you look at the cover of the book, my daughter actually took that cover. And I think that cover is very, very powerful. It's symbolic because it shows Trump facing the crowd and the crowd facing back at him. That is the transactional relationship that he has with rally goers. And Megyn, you were in Pittsburgh on the night before. You see that, right? And he never turns his neck away. Now, he might turn his body away to face a different side of the rally, different part of the stands, but he never turns his head away. Two things happen simultaneously. A chart goes down, and I remember turning to my daughter and says, what does he think, he's Ross Perot? Because he never has a chart, right?
True.
And then like a split second later, he turns his neck away. Again, something he never does. Pop, 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 went right over my head. I knew exactly what it was. I'm a gun owner. And I knew exactly what was happening. I saw the blood streak across his face. I saw him, most importantly, the thing that almost gave me immediate relief was that I saw him get down on his own. And I'm making this mental checklist. And I never get down. I'm eventually taken down by a campaign spokesperson because I'm just reporting, right? I have my recorder
He was trying
on.
to protect you.
Yeah, he was trying to protect me. He's a brave young man. I will always love him. But he does not. He's not fallen down. There are a sea of blue that surround him when the next 4 shots go off. And I just remember saying, oh, dear God, that podium's not going to protect him if there's more shots. Please let him be okay. Please let everyone in the stands be okay. And it never occurred to me to think about myself in that moment. And I'm not saying that like I'm selfless, but there's this thing that happens when you're a reporter that you just continue. You have to do your job. And that's what I continued doing.
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they're moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your own personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. OMG. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold extremely easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898 and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.